Hi, Sian here from Break the Cycle. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to actually break the cycle. So we've talked about why and what healing can feel like and look like in your life, but now I want to talk about what the actual process is and break down a bit about how I have personally broken the cycle in my family and how I have also helped many clients and patients over the years as a psychotherapist. So what I'm going to do is break this down into an analogy, because it's always helpful to have an analogy. So let's think of this, there are basically three parts to breaking the cycle and to kind of doing this kind of really deep and thorough personal growth work. So let's start first of all down here, imagining these are the roots of a tree. Okay, so what we've got down here are kind of two main parts. One is all about connecting the past and the present. Come around here. So this is things like reflecting on your experiences when you were a child, getting past all that stuff that might block you from really acknowledging your experiences. We're wanting in this phase to be reflecting, to be integrating what happened then and connecting it with what happens now, what happens in your day-to-day life, what it is that makes you want to do this type of healing work in the first place. So we're kind of tracing back and doing that reflective, acknowledging work. The next part that happens down here in the roots phase is processing, reframing. And as part of this, I wanted to do things like grieving. So often grieving is associated with obviously a death, but actually we need to grieve as part of the healing process. We need to grieve for what we didn't get, for what we lost, for what we needed but weren't offered. So this is where we're doing that work. We're processing what happened, we're making sense of it, and we're reframing. So that means that we're moving out of our child self, where we're maybe recalling experiences or how we might have felt in our childhood environment. We're taking those thoughts, those feelings, those memories, and we're bringing them into a more of an adult framework where we can reframe and say, okay, so I can now understand maybe why that happened, maybe, and this isn't about forgiving, this isn't about kind of condoning, it's not in that area at all. This is just about reframing our memories and experiences into something that is usable, something that will allow us to move forward. So here we're processing, we're reframing, we're grieving, we're accepting. So that is the kind of basis, the foundations, if you like, of breaking generational cycles and breaking patterns of family trauma. And next, the trunk of the tree, we are doing a few things. So one is that we're reconnecting to self, we're reconnecting with ourselves, and we're reparenting. So we are finding ways each day, practical ways to connect with who we are, what we like, what we enjoy. This is where we're thinking about our needs. We're learning to identify our needs in the first place, this might be the first time that you're starting to do this, that you're acknowledging your needs and taking them seriously. Reparenting is about being able to nurture ourselves, being able to offer ourselves what we might need as children from our parents. So we're reconnecting to self, and when we're doing that, and we can maybe do some nice inner child work in there as well, or we can find ways, whatever will suit you, to really just feel that you kind of have your own back. This is where we can also bring in some nice self-compassion work as well. And then we're going to be thinking about our relationships. So making our relationships more conscious. And what that means is that before we've done this type of processing work and understanding and linking past and present, when we haven't done that, what we're doing really in relationships is we're reenacting. So we are unconsciously just replaying our early relationships and also relationships we've witnessed. So for example, maybe we're replaying our parents' relationships or other strong dynamics in the family. So this is about really understanding relationship dynamics, the fact that when we are in any interaction with somebody, short term, long term, it could be just a friend, it could be husband, wife, partner, children, that we are each responding to one another, that there's a lot of unspoken stuff that's happening, and it's understanding that our behaviour sometimes will be inviting people to react to us in certain ways. It will be inviting certain responses, that we will be entering into certain dynamics, and that we will also be unconsciously drawn to people who are maybe some sort of reminder of familiar dynamics from our past, even if they weren't good ones. So it's doing all of this type of work in order to make our relationships more conscious, so that you know you are going into your interactions with much more of an open eyes, really, that you are not just operating from this kind of unconscious fog, which is how I like to kind of think of it and describe it. And then when we're getting more of an understanding of our conscious relationships, and this is not, I mean, none of this is a finite destination, we're always working on this, but there's some core work that we need to do to really just grasp all of this and be able to integrate it into our lives. And then the next part of this is conscious living. So in conscious living, we are continuously questioning. So we're questioning, we're reflecting, and most importantly, we're choosing. Okay, so this is about creating a life that you choose, where you're making even just micro decisions. And this is all about having a growth mindset. You may have come across that term before, growth mindset, and really that's just referring to this idea of questioning and reflecting, that we're getting into that way of being, that becomes natural, that becomes just kind of how we operate in the world. Because if we stop questioning and we stop reflecting, then that is when growth stops, and that is when we can slip back into old patterns again. So if we're wanting to break the cycle, we're wanting to rework those patterns that are not really how we want to live, then we need to be kind of living consciously. And then we move on to the final stage, which is maintenance. So maintenance is self-care. Maintenance is making sure we're eating well. It's making sure we're getting enough sleep. It's making sure we're exercising, moving. It's making sure we are holding our boundaries. Boundaries are part of relationships as well, but it's also part of the maintenance phase. Now, some people kind of start up here, but then forget to do this work, and that's when problems just kind of reoccur. So there you have it. Those are the 3 component parts of breaking the cycle. So as I say, people often try to kind of skip ahead to stage 3, but then the core issues remain. And really what we need to be doing is working on this bit first so that we can really move away effectively from patterns rather than them just kind of coming back. So what we're wanting to do with these 3 stages is break any patterns that are stopping you from living the life that you want. So for me, that means living a life of clarity, a life of purpose, a life without the guilt, really, the trauma that I experienced that has led me previously to just kind of live in a state of struggle, really. So this is about being able to separate yourself back then as a child from yourself now. It's about helping you move out of your inner child phase into your empowered adult phase. It's about helping you from the root up really reclaim your voice, your power, anything that was lost along the way. We always have things, everyone has things that they lose along the way. And just to be able to empower yourself and have your own back, this part is really crucial to living an empowered, impactful life. So for Black Friday, I'm doing a sale in which I'm selling the bundle, which includes all 4 of my courses. So that's my codependency course, my mother wound course, my nervous system course, and my self-compassion course. And all of these courses relate in some way to these areas. Some of them will take you right through them in relation to those topics. Some of them focus specifically on some of the areas. But ultimately, the main message I'd like for you to take from this video really is that, firstly, healing is very possible. And secondly, that it's really on you and that you're responsible for this stuff happening or not. You are absolutely capable of it. And it may look like a lot, but actually we can get really used to just working these processes and working these areas and steps and building on them. And it can become a really natural part of your life. So the sale will be starting on the 20th of November. It will run for 10 days. It is the biggest sale we've ever done at Break the Cycle. And really that's because I just want this stuff to be accessible. I know that it works. I know that based on my personal experience. I also know that from my patients, my clients, who have all had success by understanding things in this way and using this method. So don't miss out if this is something that you do want to work on, if you recognise a need in your life to be making changes and making changes that last, because there is a ton of fantastic information out there and I would never knock any of it. I love the fact that there's so much stuff out there that can help us. But some of it we're looking maybe just here, and this is all good. This is good. This is what we need as well. But we need to do this stuff first. Some of the help out there is this level, which again is fantastic and it's meaty and it's needed and it's brilliant. But again, if we haven't done the root work, then it's going to feel it's quite difficult to make it stick, basically. So all of the courses in the course bundle will, as I say, they kind of cover these areas. They will help you to integrate this type of learning and this type of approach. So if this makes sense to you, then do check out my course bundle sale, which will start on the 20th.